Hello, welcome to another episode of Full Circle with me, Onyx. And today I want to do a video on how to save your relationship with your Aquarius. And maybe kind of like the opposite, how an Aquarius can save their relationship with you. So, you would think that Aquarius would be like the most adept at conversations. However, it seems to be sometimes the opposite. Uh, but this is basically for Aquarius how to save your relationship with your human because you're kind of out of this world. And there's all different kinds of Aquarius. I think each Aquarius is unique. Uh, but I'm a little bit fascinated by them. My dad is an Aquarius. My brother and sister are Aquarius. My little sister is an Aquarius moon. And for a lot of my past relationships, they all seem to be like Taurus with Aquarius moon. And that's like 6 people. So I go through these weird astrological phases where I only date or have friends that are Scorpio moons or things like that. Um, but some of my favorite people are Aquarius. And what I've noticed about Aquarius is that they're always busy. They have personal projects, they have a lot of energy and a lot of obligations. And I'm kind of going to leave it at that point. My astrological chart is a little bit unknown because I don't know the time or date when I was born. There was no real birth chart for me, and the whole origin story is convoluted. But I tend to think I have an Aquarius rising. It's not who I am, but those type of energies are coming into my life, and it seems like what the world is asking of me are Aquarius things: detachment, boundaries, uh, sacrificing yourself for the greater good, humanitarian, environmentalist. And what's really interesting is I actually feel like I have some Aquarius, but I feel like I'm like the chill version. I'm like in the on the down low Aquarius. Um, Not everyone gets to see that side of me. But let's move on because this is really about dear Aquarius. I want you to be in good relationships with other people. And so let's look at it. How I do relationships. How I do relationships is I see them as experiments. Like literally, the other person is part of this, is the test subject. And so I might write a poem to express myself, and because it feels good for me, but then I might share it with the person of interest, my partner at the time, and see how they react to it. And the experiment is to challenge the boundary of what is possible. Like, so I might think, so I might be challenging myself. I'm like, am I a poet? Do I even do poetry? Let's try it. And so that was the challenge. That was the experiment. So then it became kind of like a work in process. It became new. It was fresh in the moment. And then I continue that experiment with their reaction. So can I budge them? Can I push them towards change? Can I open their hearts? Can I open their mind with my words? Can they transform by giving this romantic information to them? So I kind of see where they're at and I want to push them farther. And so this it could be totally a controlling technique that you as an Aquarius use to manipulate and move around your partner. And how they receive that is they go, oh, he was thinking about me or she was thinking about me. Maybe they're more of an emotional type. they will then build a memory about it. It will help link you to them. I feel like, there's different types of emotions. There's like the immature emotions, which is like reactive. There's sentimental emotions, which have meaning and value, and they help validate. So I feel like in relationships, it's like a ping pong ball game, and you bounce this ping pong ball around, and each time the other person receives what you just served, they get a validation hit. And so all these little acts you do in your relationship actually help the other person feel secure. It helps calm them down. So this little poetry text or poetry email, like I change it up. I will text the email, or I'll just do a little text, shoot them a message, and then I might do an email, and then I might write it down and take a picture of it, of different little thinking of you notes in poetry and words. I look at words as a way to have mental sex with the person, because like once you say something and it goes in their mind, it grows like a weed. So I've like planted a seed, but it was also sex. It was like I changed them and I put me into them. And so you can look at words as another form of sex. Your partner may not be able to comprehend the depths of that power, but they will at least get that you're thinking about them, that you're serious about the relationship, that it's building. So, one really obscure thing is I have a lot of female friends. You know, I'm like, what do we call it? International spokesperson of gay men, and the fag hags, whatever. I don't really like that word, it's kind of mean. But it seems like I have a harem of women, and they're always wanting to be in a relationship, and they're always romantic, and they want to keep their partner, they want to win him over, they want to seduce, they want to do all these things, and I find all those things repelling. And so they do want relationships, and I feel like an Aquarius can be an ideal partner, but what all these women friends of mine have said over the last 20 years, you know, they want definition. They want to know that they're actually in a relationship with you. And things tend to snowball. You tend to get what you don't want by when you like don't define it, then it makes the women get overly aggressive. And then she goes crazy. She blows up your phone with text. She's getting overly emotional. And really, the opposite happens when you define the relationship. When you actually define a relationship for your partner, who will be probably playing the feminine role, uh, it releases the tension, it releases the anxiety, it releases the fear, it releases the big question mark. Nobody likes a question mark. Uh, it's not fun to be in that zone where it's undefined. It doesn't mean freedom for most people, it means fear. So, to alleviate the fear, you define the relationship. You could say, if you're serious, I don't write poetry or I don't share these feelings with someone who I don't see a future with. Really? Wow. So being really clear, communication. You don't have to say a lot, but that's pretty direct. You're letting them know where you came from and what a Herculean effort it was to maybe write them a poem and express your true feelings. Um, and then, so you've helped create value and what level of value, you know. So you just can't expect people to read your mind and osmosis your feelings. And the reality is, I feel like if Aquarius is the sign of knowing, then why would you just jump in and play around with someone's mind and heart? So I feel like I've recently recovered from an Aquarius romance that lasted 6 months, but then took me 2.5 years to recover from, because I was really in it. I was like, yes, I'm committed to this. So by being really clear, yeah, you will help alleviate people who just jump in. And because some personalities instantly just jump into relationship without thinking. Aries, Pisces, Scorpio, a lot of a lot of other signs, Leo, will jump in and bypass logic and reason and practicality, and they will lead with their emotions into relationships. And I get really good insights, like when I'm brushing my teeth. And the insight was, you know what? Logic, reason, practicality, in reality, has a limit. So we may see people who lead with their emotions and intuitions, hopes and dreams as foolish, but we end up in the exact same spot. Logic and reason, but then your partner died, you know? So you had this checklist of what you wanted in an ideal person. Reality, there is no ideal on this planet. And I feel like Aquarius, you should know this. This ideal partner. So I watched my brother. He dumped this wonderful girl just because I think she had asthma. So he projected in the long run, she's going to be physically weak. So he ended the relationship with her. And I know it's because his mother died. Like, my brother and sister, their parents died in a tragic plane wreck. So, and aviation is ruled by Aquarius. So, obviously, they came to my Aquarius dad. Bizarre story, but I could see how maybe unconsciously, or it just wasn't explained. Hey, look, I really love you. I'm worried about your health, and I have a big fear that if I emotionally commit to you, then I'll be hurt again. You might die. That's pretty heavy stuff. But guess what? Someone who actually likes you and wants to be in a relationship can take it. That's a bonding moment. So you're missing bonding moments, the connection you want of a deep friendship, the connection you want of being understood on a mental level and not having to say stuff. You have to build that through communication, sharing these vulnerable moments, sharing your truth, create intimacy. So yeah, we kind of went off tangent with why you need to communicate more and not leave people hanging, not just dip. And you're not doing yourself a favor. They're not seeing you as strong. They're not seeing you as powerful. What's really going on is they're hurting because you left a huge question mark in their life. You know, it's like, it was like having a puppy and then it ran away. You're that runaway puppy. For all the good and all the happiness that you brought into their life because you didn't realize it, because you don't know your worth, and you don't know the value you bring to other people's lives with your intelligence and your greatness, because you're discounting that, then you leave, you broke their heart. You were like, you ruined Christmas for people every time you just leave and not explain yourself. So there's ways to explain yourself without like hurting, exposing yourself too much. But each time you choose to be human, each time you choose to meet people on their level, you're going to grow emotionally. You're going to understand people better. So you're experiment, you're understanding your subject, you're understanding what you're dealing with, this mysterious entity called the other person. You know, but then it's also building. It's actually getting you what you want. You want someone to be your friend, to understand you, to give you space, to really understand your situation, um, and anticipate those things and become the ideal friend, the ideal partner, living the ideal life. You have to communicate it. Um, okay, this is something I like. I realized all these women and culture, it doesn't matter if you're gay, straight, lesbian, bi, however you identify, sensitive man, feminine man, who cares? Um, our culture tends to, for the partner to be everything. You have to be like an all father or an all mother. You have to be Mr. Fix It, bring home the bacon. You have to give of all these different areas. You have to be a good listener. You have to be a good talker. You have to financially provide. You have to give them babies. You have to, that's a lot of pressure, right? So, tip number two, outsource these things. As soon as someone wants to like go down memory lane, pull out a photo album, I go, hey, let's go visit your mom. Let's go visit someone who actually likes to do that. And then I will pawn them off on them. Then when they're hanging out with mom, flipping through a photo album, which I despise, I hate memories, I hate family activities, I leave them there. And then I go do what I want. I go, okay, babe, uh, yay. I'm gonna now go work on this project. I have to go to work. Or, I have to go on a hike. I have to do me, you do you. So I potty train them, I outsource them to a friend that likes to gossip. Hey, go invite Jill. Hey, have Jill come over. Let's do lunch, knowing that she's gonna gossip with my partner. Cool. Then when they get her and the meal starts, I leave. I go, and they're happy. So it's like giving a kid a sucker. You know, they're gonna cry. You have to leave them at daycare, and then they're all of a sudden gonna realize they miss you. And they're gonna have their attachment issues. I've given them a sucker to distract them, and then I leave and go to work. I do a go adult. So outsource, 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 outsource so many things. Like when you send a gift basket or a bouquet of roses, you saved yourself time. Yet the message is, I care about you. So you can outsource gift giving, you can outsource conversations. Hey, you know what? This is getting really deep. Let's call your therapist. Or, I love you so much, I've already booked your therapy sessions 4 months out in advance. I got this major discount. Isn't it cool? So you can outsource. Uh, I'm not your therapist. I'm your boyfriend. I'm your husband. I'm your wife. I'm your whatever. I'm your friend. So we've reached the end of this part of the conversation. I'm not a trained therapist, so hey, let's call your therapist. Good idea, honey. You remembered. Yeah, I remembered your therapy. Oh, yeah. So there's things that you don't have to be in. You don't have to be in your partner's dysfunction. You don't have to be in your partner's need to be around their family. You don't have to, like, if you're like, I feel like I'm the type of Aquarius that rather just stay home. I imagined it in my mind. I already know how the movie is going to go. I already know how the party is going to go. I already know what it's going to be like at the club and who they're going to meet. I just kind of like know. And I'm like, okay, I don't want to be part of that. I just outsource it. I just say no. And it's good. So, and then kind of like the opposite of outsourcing, we outsource them to specialists. You be a specialist in your relationship. Just say, hey, you know, I don't chop wood, I don't carry water, I don't do toilets, I don't clean, but I do cook. I'm the cooking type of boyfriend. You merchandise yourself in a certain way for your partner. So it's like, why are you shopping for a car when you're here shopping for a suit? Two different things. So by your merchandising, you are potty training your partner once again to understand what role you play in their life. So literally, I love to cook. What did I send my boyfriend to lure him in? Food. All these really cool things I can make vegan. Like, so once again, I was manipulating my boyfriend. He was like a vegan, but he didn't know how to eat clean. He didn't know that just eating carbs isn't vegan. Just eating a pound of sugar isn't really vegan, and chemical processed food really isn't vegan. To be vegan, you have to be eating veggies. You have to be eating like whole foods, living foods, and you have to, have some probiotics, prebiotics for digestion of all that vegetable material. You might have to take a vitamin B12 and some calcium to support this type of lifestyle. Like, so there's things you have to do. And so I presented it to him through art. I made these really cool visual things. I showed him that I could go raw for a whole year when he quit smoking cigarettes. So I joined their party of where they're at, but in my own way. So he wanted to quit smoking. I said, well, I'll go raw vegan for a whole year. I will walk the walk with you, but I'll do it in my own way. So yeah, specialize. So burned into my ex-boyfriend's mind is this partner, Onyx, is amazing in the kitchen. If I ever want food or if he ever gives me food, it's an act of kindness, it's an act of love, it's something special, unique, and weird, that he knows no one can cook uh, raw vegan like me. He knows that. I can literally make him anything he wants out of his imagination. I've been cooking since I was like in kindergarten. Like, my mom always let me use the kitchen as a place to experiment. It was my laboratory. So, on all the different health journeys I've been on, the kitchen is a part of it. So, he knows. He knows. Like, hands down. So, you can specialize yourself. That makes you unique. That makes them want you more. So, you're not giving up anything by being uniquely you. Like, my dad does astronomy. He has a freaking huge telescope. In the neighborhood, growing up, he was the only person with a giant, awkward telescope in the front yard. Um, and also, our family, he teaches English to foreigners. So we always had really cool parties, seasonal parties like Thanksgiving, Halloween, Christmas, and our whole like neighborhood was filled full of cars, and all these foreign people from all over the world were in our house in a little urban neighborhood. So uh, that makes you unique, whatever it is that you do. Like, if you have a huge social function, if you have a cause, your partner is going to be attracted to that because it makes you very unique. You've specialized. And so then your partner works around your specialization. It's like, yeah. So it's really hot and romantic to specialize yourself, to merchandise yourself in a certain way, and to stay in character. Okay. We already kind of talked about maybe uh, life isn't ideal. Shit happens. And so you might have to work on deconstructing this ideal vision in your head. So when my sister got married, she wanted to back out of it. And then my parents weren't very conscious about it. And they said, go ahead. And really, I was like, what the F? If my daughter is questioning the day, the week, the day, or a month before the wedding, ask some real questions. I was like, what the F are you guys thinking? And they got married, they did all sorts of stuff. It's been really a long years, and they've been debating divorce, and they staying together, and it's like not clear. And that's kind of Aquarius, uh, not all the way in, depending. And in the long run, I don't think she would have got married if she didn't just commit to the idea. She would have never got married when all those signals are like, hey, wait a minute. These are red flags. Some of them are redder than others, but there's this beauty in working with the chaos. Like, what is more attractive, the painting or the palette where you were mixing all your paints? Both of them are art. One is one you expected, the other one is unexpected. So I'm going to say part of being experimental, being a scientist, besides looking for your results and looking for what you want, there's this other door open of possibility, of surprise. I mean, God, Aquarius loves surprises. So be surprised with work with something that's like not working and watch it transform. And then becomes part of your legacy. That becomes part of that bonding and memories. It was like, remember when we were at this level and now we're at that level. Remember when you were an emotional wreck and you were over sympathizing and being basically what I'm not attracted to, remembering you're whining and complaining, and now look at you. Things have changed. You're holding down a job and you're doing shit on your own, and I have time for myself, and I don't have to pat your back, and I don't have to play your mom and your dad, and I don't have to play your life coach anymore. And all you did was you worked with the chaos. You worked with kind of like the mirror of right now, and now you moved into the mirror of tomorrow. Two completely images are reflected back. So in relationships, there's a cycle. And usually at the first of the cycle, that deep attachment, then the next cycle is, or part of the cycle, is you start throwing up all your pain, your problems, your history, your drama, and you throw up all your fantasies, unrealistic expectations. After those two phases, you actually kind of meet the real person. So you guys are checking out and leaving, maybe, and judging, prejudging, and going, this is too much work, or they're not showing me, the images of today, which you're projecting onto me, are not are making me see a negative projection of the future with you. So wait a while, leave, sure, come back, fine. Obviously communicate. Uh, come back to the situation or work with it, stick in there a little bit, and then see if things are changing and if they're growing. I know for me, I will hang out with some people, and then it just seems like everything they say is like a videotape. It's just like an audio tape. It's just going around and around. It's the same story, same playback. It's like the same complaints, the same needs and desires and wants. And as soon as that happens, I'm like, then I'm like, okay, I know if I left, went to Bali, came back, you'd still be not working it out with your mom, or you'd be still sewing that quilt 10 years later, or helping that neighbor. So because it's so predictable, it's not fun. Because it's so boring for me, because I know I'll just be watching the same videotape, the same actor, like the same plot, just done by different characters, is not fun. So that's usually when I leave. And honestly, the last relationship was a friend. I stuck in for 8 years when really in day one, it was the same old act. And I was just waiting for things to change, waiting for things to change. And literally, I could have dipped out years ago and saved myself a lot of trouble. It was just ended up being a waste of time. And in the end, it didn't matter. Because then I come back to this video and share the wisdom. It's a little bit difficult to know when to just exit, or maybe, but work with the chaos, because some things are like art. I had a piece of art, I bought it, I didn't like it, I stuck it on the wall, and then day by day, I found things I liked about it, Then pretty soon it became my favorite piece of art. That happens all the time with me. So I might first reject. My first reaction is always revolt. I'm revolted by so much stuff that it's easy for me to just hit that puke button. But if I stick it out, I fall in love with it. Even my favorite dog. I bought her and then she didn't meet the ideal version in my head. I was rescuing her. And so there was a moment of revolt. And then I stuck it out. She became my favorite pet. We were best friends for years and years and years. I learned so much from her. So that gag reflex, kind of ignore it, drink some water, and stick in with the relationship for a while. You might be surprised. You know, let's see. Oh, and last thing, reverse engineer your relationships. Uh, do be idealistic. Go into the future, see how you would like it to be, then look at the steps you took to make it happen, and then apply those today. So I really advocate the reverse engineering of relationships, friendships, situations, uh, and then take those steps to make it happen. So reverse engineering me getting back together with my partner looks like, well, there was a reform, you know, and if that happens, then I say yes to that. So reverse engineering the friendship that I broke off from, there'd have to be some drastic changes in that personality, that person. They'd have to make some lifestyle changes. If those happen, then the door opens back up and I'm available. Reverse engineering my role in the situation is I communicate more. I say what I want and need, and I quit catering to other people. I put my foot down. Reverse engineering it, I'm the one who should be worshipped and glorified, not the other way around. I did too much of glorifying the other person. This time it will be more in balance. So I don't look at things as failure. It's an experimental project that continues. It's an alchemical transformation. So look at I just look at relationships either as creative projects or burdens. And hopefully you're in the creative project zone. And this keeps it fresh because I'm always looking for the surprise. I'm always looking for the unexpected. Like people emotionally grow, mentally change and grow. We evolve with wisdom just over the years. It happens naturally. And so I'm looking for those markers, but I'm open to them being a little bit unique and different with each person, you know? So you can live in the moment and keep it really fresh. You just don't need to keep exchanging bodies for that freshness when you can just be fresh all the time. And then I really explain it to